Right, okay. Assalamualaikum and very good morning, everyone. Okay, first of all, we would like to thank you for joining this webinar. Okay, uh, okay. So I think today webinar is about AWANTAX, about a smarter way to manage your e-invoices in Malaysia. Without further ado, as thank you Zingy for a bit introductions about myself. So let me elaborate more. So my name is Faizal Fuad. So I'm more on the technology and business evangelist. So I have both side of the world. So I have a few certification from technical sides and as well as from business point of view. Having in the industry for more than 15 years, so I've been working from for locals and a few multinational company abroad, right? And of course, having the opportunity working abroad, have exposed with a lot of project worldwide. Okay, for example, the Houston port, right, JR line in Japan, Saudi payment, and so on. So how relate I am to this content today is actually initially, previously I was also part of a team in the for IRB. So that time actually the solution is under IBM. We are providing the TACS or tax and audit compliance system, a part of the data warehouse project, and as well as I will be part of the team in the Saudi payment. So Saudi payment is similarly to our MOF, Ministry of Finance. So I'm a business consultant there. So my project at that point of time is actually we have a lot of the initiative providing the seamless payment for experience program. So for example, the RFID tag for car now that we experience now, we have been tested that a few years back. Okay, so at that point of time, actually for us, I think we are using a lot of RFID card, so we can just go through any entrance without need to tap and so on. So the best part, a lot of the proof of concept or our idea was doing to that, and of course the integrations with a lot of others vendors and so on. So this is quite interesting project to share on. So that's a bit brief about myself and my experience and how actually we related today. So I think without further ado, I will go to the main agenda for today. So we're going to start with a bit introductions about who actually are AWANTAX, and we're going to talk about e-invoicing in Malaysia and globally, just to have everyone same level of understandings, and then how actually this AWANTAX solution fit to that. And as Zingy shared earlier, you can always drop the question, or later we're going to have opens more. I think since we can have more interactive in the Q&A, right? Okay. So AWANTAX is actually a solution integrator. So we drive a lot of the solution integration business in Malaysia. So one of these is actually, this is some of the pillars that actually we have. We have the cloud solution software. As you can see on the top one, you have a lot of the offerings from the Google, starting from the Workspace, Gemini, when we talk about AI now with Query, Mandiant, as well as Sage and AWANTAX, right? So platform as a service, Skillsoft is one of the digital learning platforms. Actually, we have the built-in artificial intelligence, all right? As well as when you talk about the Google Cloud, is as well people know about the Google Cloud platform. So we also providing in terms of the hosting and infrastructure services, and maybe some of you know about the Chrome OS and Chromebook. So this is part of the offerings. Talent as a service is actually very additional services or offerings that actually we provide from the training point of view and skilling and reskilling, as well as all these solutions. Sometimes we do understand the customer have a parcel here and there. So we have providing the system integrations or in terms of the professional services from our own team. We have the PMOT, project management, analytics, big data, DevOps, AI, and so on. So we can personalize our solution to fit with your requirement. And when we talk about the cloud, we cannot run away when you talk about the cybersecurity. Of course, Mandiant is one of the top notch in terms of the cybersecurity offering. Is also part of our offerings, including the security command center and so on. Right. So those are part of the key offerings that actually we work with our so-called principal, also Google, Skillsoft, Sage, and others on. Right. So that's a brief in terms of AWANTAX. So when we talk about AWANTAX, if we are providing a technology offerings to our partners or our customers. Okay. Right. So the main agenda for today, when we talk about the e-invoicing in Malaysia and global, so this is quite important because having this understanding, then we know where actually we stand off and actually where actually the initiative moving forward. So e-invoice is under digitalization of the Malaysian Tax Administration Initiative. So it was announced under RMK 12. Right. So at that point of time, it had been mandated by the Prime Minister to two government agency. One is MDEC, another one is LHDN. So I mean, of course, a lot of news was really driven by LHDN because of the tax reporting and compliance needs. But MDEC also have roles in this in terms of the business digitalization. So these two party work hand in hand in terms of achieving the national's objective, right? So when we talk about the in terms of the implementation timeline, initially I believe a lot of people already say that hey, it's supposed to be to all mandatory taxpayer during the 1st July. However, I think the recent update on 31st February slightly changed in terms of the breakdown in terms of implementation. So the next enroll is actually for all the business, all the taxpayers above 500k to 25 million, and they have been differ in terms of the implementation to 1st January for all taxpayer. And I would like to emphasize here when we talk about the all taxpayer here is actually it's not only limited to business, but as well as individual. Because I mean, for all the taxpayer, including ourselves, so we are also a part of need to understand what actually e-invoice, how actually it impacts our tax and so on. Okay, all right. So there have been rolled out some of the model that has been agreed. So as you can see, there are two agencies for LHDN and MDEX, correct? So LHDN is always coming from the tax reporting and compliance, but MDEX is actually coming from the business digitalization and automation. So we always heard about the My Invoice portal where actually everyone can use that one and having the access to what actually the invoice requirement, and as well as actually LHDN offer about the API or application protocol interface. I mean that forming from your accounting system or your invoice billing system communicate directly through API through LHDN. And as well as you can see, the third option is actually the fully automations, which I will cover later how actually the things works in terms of the with the simulation, so that you can help you to understand. So all these are some of the model that are available to be applied. All right. So when we talk about the e-invoice, a lot of people will say that actually a system is impacted, right? So we need to have a new system that will cater to that. I have to agree with that, but it's not limited to that. Okay, so system is one of the things. As you can see, we have finance, tax, legal, operations. So basically, everybody in the organization involved, they need to understand what is actually e-invoice, how does actually this impact to that, right? So of course, from system point of view, they need to be able to cater in terms of the invoice requirement, some of the mandatory fees, what other things need to be updated and so on, right? Might as well as finance. So finance also need to understand they are no longer can, for example, when you issue a wrong invoice or when you actually your invoice already validated, what else you need to do? So there are some of the business process that actually change, and how, for example, certain business doing business with the foreign, so there are some rules actually you need to follow. And this is actually uh, also impact in terms of how actually our tax apply and so on. So you need to have understand how actually this implementation it impacts how actually your tax occur, and as well as legal. So some of the issue is actually, of course, when we come about the security data and so on. So they have impact, and the most important part is actually the operation. So why operation is very important is actually because for any people actually for any role that receive or send invoice, so they need to understand that the invoice that they receive must be validated, and for those invoice that validated must be, I mean, you might have the QR code or the UID and so on the invoice, but your responsibility is to ensure that the information in the invoice is similarly that the one that have in the My Invoice portal or the one that is submitted to. So all these need to be so-called bring the awareness to the operational that these are the new business process involved. So that's why I think when we talk about the invoice, it's not really about just changing system, or the system need to be able to cater with the invoice requirement, or we can leverage in terms of my invoice portal and so on. But actually, it involves the whole organization structures and how the things works, right? And of course, I do understand that a lot of people who actually don't understand, it's start to make a noise actually how the things impact their business and so on. And as well of from government point of view, I think one of the idea to have this invoice is actually they just want to track your revenue or your income, and then the second one is actually they want to know your expenses, so they want to align between these two. So e-invoice is one of the things that actually are being applied, and how actually they be able to manage to that. All right, so that's why I think this is e-invoice is not only happen in Malaysia. I mean, our neighboring countries, Singapore, Philippines, right, Thailand, and so on. So they have been brought out in terms of invoice. Some of the timeline actually we have the similar invoice in terms of very raw out is actually is on the Australia. So Australia was quite interesting because they force all the company to use the PayPal. So PayPal is actually one of the international standard in terms of document exchange specifically for the e-invoice. So PayPal have been used in the Europes mostly, and most of the part of the region, right? So while of course US or America is always have their own standard, they have been used DBA or DBA Alliance. It is more on the standard, but more or less these two are standard similarly to ISO. So they are providing standard for you to have the document exchange, right? So I hope this is aligned with actually what you can see how actually the e-invoice is not only in Malaysia, how actually the government coming point of view, how actually this impacts in terms of organization. Might as well you can see, of course, as a business grow or really having a business globally, to understand that actually this is a need in terms of having the implementation of the e-invoice, right? So the main agenda for today, I'm going to share with you about AWANTAX solutions. So AWANTAX solution is our in-house built application. So we drive this based on those requirements, and we have understand how actually we bring values to our customers. All right. So a bit brief in terms of what actually the difference between the traditional invoice and e-invoice, because we do heard some of the people already say that, hey, I'm already on the e-invoice, I mean electronic invoice, but those electronic invoice for the PDF, Excel, or the soft copy is not the electronic invoice that actually defined in this context, right? So this e-invoice implementation or this terminology is actually more towards a back end, how actually the things work. As you can see, invoice in PDF, so the approach now actually they got a few steps here, right? So from your AR or account receivable from your system, you prepare the invoice, and then you generate the invoice in PDF format. Once you get all the internal process, you need to extract out, and you can send via emails, or you print out and everything. And the other party will receive invoice in PDF. They need to do all the data entry and so on, and then put out in their system. So as you can see here, a lot of manual interventions to this, right? And of course, when you talk about manual, there's a lot of errors can be happens. For example, when send invoice the PDF and maybe the wrong date informations or any billings or any amounts. So you can, I mean, the practice now is always just send back the new invoice, right, with the corrections. But moving forwards, of course, when we talk about the e-invoice, you cannot do that anymore. Right, so any invoice that having validated, you got 72 hours to ensure that the information is right. Otherwise, you need to change with the credit note, debit note, and so on. So this is some of the business process that are going to change. Right. So what is invoice? So it's not it's exchange of the electronic invoice. I mean that previously maybe you already have the electronic invoice on the PDF or soft copy. Now it's more on the exchange to that. Right. So as you can see, how actually we can be value to your organizations to have in terms of this e-invoice is actually you can retain all the existing approach and so on in terms of your system. You prepare the invoice, so all the finance invoice that actually you're ready to send with the customer. So we will be the intermediary to help you to send to LHDN, because you need somebody that actually you trust for LHDN to process as invoice, and then from that actually we will receive the invoice that actually validated by LHDN, either you receive the error or already successful validated, and then we pass back to you. Okay, so from that is actually you can start back to your normal process. Okay, so of course this is additional things or additional work that actually you need to be done. Right, so moving forwards, of course, this is actually the government looking on. I mean that having a PayPal part of the standard, you can eliminate like 4 or 5 process and the manual process. So both party will get the accurate informations and at the right time. I mean, the fastest to receive any invoice directly to their account system. So similarly, when you receive your invoice, so whenever billing to you, you will directly go to the AR for you to receive the invoice. So this is one of the in terms of the business decision to have more automate and reduce in terms of the manual things. Okay. So what is actually AWANTAX? So AWANTAX is actually providing a bridge between whatever solutions or whatever billing system issuance of invoice. Actually, we help you to submit to LHDM for validations. AWANTAX itself have a lot of the features that I will go highlight next. Right, and we will return all the validators or any errors to you, so for you can fix the errors, or you can, if already validated, and move on. The optional part here is actually we already have ready in terms of the PayPals. Right, so whoever, if your receiver or your buyer already on the PayPal network, so will they receive the invoice directly. Right, and of course if you are doing business with the US, right, so we already have a DBNA already a part of our solution. So AWANTAX is actually going global, so we can comply not only limited to Malaysia, right, but of course it's including other countries as long as they are part of the PayPal and DBNAs. Okay, so what actually AWANTAX offering? So what we offer, we have a simplified workflow. Of course, a lot of the invoice creation, right? Then we have a lot of in terms of how actually your process to AWANTAX. Okay, and having the intermediary, actually we help you to provide in terms of validations, what are the fees, what update, and so on. So this is to ensure that all the information that actually you send is actually complying to LHDN, and we will help you to reduce the error as much as possible because of the first validations, right? So you don't need to wait until your invoice already validated and you got error and so on. And having this is we have in terms of your efficiency. As you can see, I shared a lot of manual tasks have been eliminated, right? And our portal have help you to store a lot of your informations. Okay, so this is quite interesting in terms of the profile management, because some of the organizations said I can leverage in terms of using the My Invoice portal, but some of you also aware that only the directors or the owner of the company can access to the My Invoice portal, right? So for them, or for your finance team or your accountant to be able to access, your director need to delegate or need to assign a representative. Understanding that as a business owner, you might don't have flexibility in terms of time to go through all those tedious things. So this AWANTAX help you to do that. If you have like multiple roles for the accountant, maybe document and so on, so the portal help you to in terms of based on your profile, so what actually you can do and so on. And of course, when you have this portal, so we have more in terms of the systematic in terms of screens, you can view back, you can track all the invoice and so on. Okay, so tracking is quite important because you want to know when you submit to HDN, what are the status, is this still pending, where is it hanging around and so on. So we have those tracks and you can always track back all those informations. Another one actually, when we have our offerings is actually in terms of the generations. So our solution is actually quite flexible enough. So other than you can use the application protocol interface from your application or invoice to our system, we also have the manual or batch. Some of the system they don't want to change anything, so they want to use the Excel or SFTP, they can do the upload. This one also quite interesting because for LHDN, My Invoice portal, they only limit you to 100 rows, right, for at one time. So you need to wait until you complete before you can continue to the next batch. But however, so we don't really limit to that. So we is predefined. So based on the size and so on, and of course we also need to ensure that the network and everything is up to the requirement. So you can process maybe 500 to 1,000 invoice at one time if you really on the huge part. Okay, so having the AWANTAX also, as again, we have our own self check-in. This is based on the LHDI compliant and might as well in terms of global requirements. So some of the informations where we help you to validate that actually we need your the data to be updated and so on before we get validators. All right. Customizable user role, of course, this is again maybe some of the your staff roles actually just to view, just to edit and so on. So we can predefine that one in the portal. All right. And maybe some of the technical things they are a bit considered, they want to have a trial. So we have being a sandbox or test so that actually your system can have testing with us, right? And of course, this is the most quite important, accessible anytime, anywhere. So you can always use your computer, laptop, or smartphone. So it's always ready. You can view the AWANTAX from that. So it's much convenient. Okay. And last but not least, I think when you talk about whenever you come to monetary, you want to know your transactions or logs. So it have a very quite detailed history, whatever the information that you had. And the last one is actually this is quite important for about larger enterprise. So maybe you have a holding companies and then all the subsidiaries. So we support in terms of monetary. So from the group point of view, you can always see all your subsidiaries, or you have a group of companies you want to have a consolidations, you can know in terms of number of your revenues, your invoice and so on. So all the monetary we have in terms of the screens that actually help you to monitor to that. Okay, so this is some of the highlights. I mean, we don't have enough time to put everything there, but most of the thing we offer more than actually the my invoice portals have for you, right? So in glance, it is slightly a little bit more technical. I mean, some of you may be using the accounting system, for example, the Oracle, SAP, Microsoft Dynamics, Salesforce, and so on, or any system even is a built in-house built customized. So we have so-called what we call as an integrator. So the one I told you earlier that actually is open, either you want to use the API or you want to use the SFTP, meaning the file upload, or you want to use ODBC. This is more on database connection. So from that source of file, once it's connected to us, so we have what we call as a validation services. So all the validation services will map back all the information with the requirement to LHDM, right? So that is part of the mapping services, and all those things we have the with the compliance with the PayPal and so on. So some of the additional features that I would like to highlight again is actually, for example, the real-time notification, bulk processing, right? And then we have the retry mechanism. So retry mechanism is quite important for you. I mean, we don't want to be able to like, oh, this is failed, I need to manually try and so on. So having automatic retry mechanism is quite important to ensure that actually your invoice will get validated on time. And of course, having all those information, you need the dashboard, and we have the reporting and analytics to that. Okay. So this is more in terms of the technical advantage, the one that I shared with you earlier in terms of multi-tenant architecture. As you can see, for example, you are a holding company, so you have a lot of subsidiaries to that. So you can always monitor up to which you predefine as a child to your organization. Okay, so this is more like a bird eye view. I believe a lot of the holdings company love to use this, and even some of our, for example, even for the education side. So you have for example, you have a rental room and so on. So this will be part of your subsidiary that actually you want to monitor to that. And multi-source architecture is quite important. I do understand that some of the customer, all this drive by our customer that they have the needs. For example, this is using the SAP. So they already have some of the standard in terms of proper billings using the SAP, automatic connect using the API, and maybe some of the very minimums in terms of still manual. For example, this is more I mean, they are using rental monthly and just like few rows, so they just want still remain using the the Excel or Google Sheet. So they just can upload and so on. So AWANTAX have the consolidation view from that company overview, so they can, even regardless of multiple source, You can always see the total number of the countings or number of invoice, how much the value, how much actually you receive and sending and so on. So this is really helpful for you to be able to monitor or track in terms of your informations. Okay, so this is most important part when we talk about the data and when we talk about the cloud. So it's always about how about the security. So our solution was actually we put as a 256p encryption. So this is the highest available at this point of time. We are also our solution also ISO 2001 certified. Okay, so this is one of the awards given. So this is one being monitored closely, and so all this been encryption along the way. So as far as our concern, actually we are providing you the platform, so your data is belong to you and it's your responsibility. At a certain part of it, actually we are not be able to see even your data. And of course, having the solutions on the cloud is actually you don't have to worry about if it's a bottleneck and so on, because our solution is actually scale up, all right, as and when based on the demand. So this is actually the value having us as part of your middleware solution for this e-invoice. Okay. Right. So furthermore, I believe our solution also get accreditation by MDEC. So MDEC actually providing a lot of testing just to be ensure that actually you are PayPal service provider. PayPal, of course, as again I said, is an international standard that we have to follow. So this is to ensure to you, even though this is a local developed, so we're following in terms of the international standard in terms of providing our services. So rest assured that actually all your data and everything is actually up to the global standard on providing to this one. Okay, so of course having all those services and offerings, on top of that actually we have our own in terms of the support services. So if you have any problems during the solutions and we do understand some of the finance people maybe have some difficulty accessing the system and so on, so we providing you in terms of answering a question, and we providing guidance along the way as you subscribe to the solutions, right? So there are a few methods in terms of the communication channels. So of course we have the help desk number where we given to our customer, we have the email, and we have our systems as well. And in terms of the implementation part, of course the AWANTAX team will be the first levels, and then as and when I believe that the matters getting serious or the stability change, right? So we start to delegate to a different level. For example, when it comes to the infrastructure side, we have the infrastructure team, for example, the Google Cloud and so on. So it will divert to specific team, and we will have commitment to resolve that based on the response time and the resolution time. So all this actually we putting so-called our commitment to provide a good service to use. But rest assured, we do understand that this is a standard support or service level that we're providing to the customer. But there are some actually they are asking for customized, and it can be customized depending on your business needs. Right? Also, in summary, having AWANTAX is actually we are not only accredited by MDEC and the PayPal authority, so we ensure that actually your e-invoice, right, this is actually compliant to the Malaysians and e-invoice or international standards. So I mean you less worries in terms of actually all the mandatory requirement and so on. So we will guide you along the way, and of course having all those automation, as you can see during the earlier simulation, it reduce a lot of the errors, right? And it saves a lot of time. I mean, instead of you have to extract all those things, but it automatically send to the receiver and so on. It's already have a lot been a part of the efficient or productivities. Okay, and again, I think since we are a Google Premier partner, so Google Cloud Infrastructure is very well established, so you don't have to worry about your security and all those smooth. I mean, that is a glance in terms of everything happen in the back, right? And when you talk about the cloud, it's about the real time on the update and everything, and as well as AWANTAX as a technology provider, so we can always help support you in terms of how actually you can start with your digital transformations. Okay, all right. So I think furthermore, I'm gonna share some of the screenshot of the AWANTAX portal. Okay, So this is requirement. Our portal comes standard with the multi-factor authentication, so only valid users will be able. So you get a send the code to the authorized. Okay, and then we have some of the dashboard that actually you can see, so you can foresee number of the invoice, what currency, total, base, and so on. Okay, and this is actually the most part a lot of people been using. Actually, they want to know your recent transaction, or you can have a period of time. But the most important part, as you can see, you know this invoice is already validated, or if got errors, right? So where actually it are, or is still validating. So from there, actually, you can always drill down to specifically based on the status. Okay, for example, this is having the error. As you can see on the top one, they have providing what actually the error that actually you need to fix on, and you can see on the bottom right, so they have a submission status. So by the time you submit your invoice to us, we will start the queuing and we start to process internally. We want to ensure that the mandatory field and the format and so on is actually comply to LSTN, and we will submit it to LSTN. So as and where there is an error, so we will return to the error end. Right. So this is some of the sample invoice that we show validated by LSTN. So our system already have so-called the QR code, so you can see your IRB, UUID, and so on. So all the information need for your invoice is already there in the portal. So you can always, I mean that if you want, you can always use ours to download this one. This is some of the features that not available in the MyTax, My Invoice portal. So you can you'll not be able to see your invoice on more readable view. Okay. Right, so that's all I'm sharing about e-invoicing and AWANTAX solutions so far. I mean, I'm open to the floor if you have any question that you would like to ask or anything that you would like me to emphasize more. Okay, so I believe everyone quite understand. I mean, no worries. So in the event that you feel that you need more personalized in terms of the sharing, I believe a lot of organizations have a difference in terms of the needs. So feel free to reach out to us, right? So we can have personalization for you and do the demo, right? So we have some of the demo, and we can always talk to your technical team if you need to use the sandbox so that you can have more feel how actually you use to your system or your requirements. Okay, so that's why I think we are open for any solution review, and we always value any feedback that you would like to share to us on what actually your niche or requirement to that. Might as well in terms of the technicality, so we can have a session with your finance team in terms of the process and how actually the things works and how actually limitation and how actually we can help you moving forward. Might as well with the IT team or any accounting providers. So we want to, I mean, we can advise to you what will be the best approach. I mean, of course, some of the people really want, oh, I want to use the API, for example, right? But unfortunately, their solution is not ready to that. So what actually the workaround at this point of time? So these are some of the, I mean, the common scenario how actually we can help to them. And I think why I think one of the most important, for example, the multi-tenant or the multi-source is actually because we do foresee some of the customer, for example, they have not really or so-called distribute in terms of when it comes to the e-invoice things, right? Right. So I believe we really look forward to be discuss all this personally with you and your team. So you can always drop us the inquiries so that we can reach out to you and have a personalized sessions. Yes, there's the questions. Okay, so how do you handle the outage and changes happening in IRB? So this is a good one. So how we do is actually as and when there is a changes that will be informed by LSTN. Okay, so we will inform you back what other things need to be done. I mean, of course, this is a two-way communication. I think the recent one is actually, for example, the update about the phone numbers. Okay, so I think because last time some of the data was like with the +60 and so on, some actually putting an A without the numbers. I think now actually they're quite start to have more stringent in terms of the validation. So we will keep on informing you about your how actually you want to be passed to that. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I'll hand over back to Zingy on this one. Thank you, everyone.